What is up, guys? Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway 2 is happening this weekend coming up. And this is a very interesting fight. It is for the BMF strap, the fake title. We all know it's a fake title, but obviously, baddest mother effer, whatever. I think this fight, in my opinion, it is not going to be a close fight. It is either one side wins dominantly or the other side wins dominantly. And I'm still a little conflicted on which side I think is going to win dominantly, because I think people like to forget. Here, let's go switch this angle. First of all, I'm not going to be predicting any of the other fights on the card because I simply don't want to do all those in one video. I could probably run through these quickly. This one, probably Gregory Rodriguez will win. Bruno Ferreira, I think, nah. Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. I think it'll be an upset of Michael Johnson. Rob Font versus Raul Roses Jr. I think Rob Font, the experience will show. Unless Raul Roses Jr. shows some, big ups in his game. Caio versus Reiner de Ritter. I'm actually very conflicted on this too. So maybe I might do that in this video. Actually, no. I'm just going to be doing Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Very conflicted on this because I think people forget, and I do this a lot of the time, is I will predict fights on how I want the fighter to fight. I think I did that with Oliveira versus Topuria. I took Oliveira because I was like, he's simply too big and the grappling will be too much. And I'm probably going to do that again with this fight. I'm probably going to choose Charles Oliveira. But let's talk about this, guys. We have two kind of opposites in the sense. Max Holloway, only a striker. He doesn't do any ground game. Has amazing, or does he? We don't really know. Has good takedown defense. Good, anti-grappling in the sense that if you take him down, it's hard to keep him down, and it's hard to even take him down in the first place. Charles Oliveira, very, has that kind of Thai stance, high guard. A lot of teeps. Heavy grappler, very good jiu-jitsu, probably the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu we've seen in the UFC ever, maybe. Most submissions in the UFC of all time. Big guy, strong guy. Max Holloway is taller by an inch, so he's going to have the reach. Obviously, Max has the reach and just the advantage. Or no, Charles Oliveira actually has the reach in this. And I think that's going to play a little bit of a factor in the striking. A 5-inch reach advantage. That's pretty crazy to see. I did not know that. If that's true, that will play a factor in this. But I think the overall sense is that Max Holloway will piece up Charles Oliveira on the feet. And if Charles wants to keep this on the feet, he's going to get pieced up. And he'll get pieced up pretty bad because Charles Oliveira, he's there to be hit. But let's not get it mistaken. He has a lot to offer back. He has power in his hands. He sent Justin Gaethje flying across the octagon. He sent Michael Chandler flying a bunch of times too. Charles Oliveira has real power in his hands. He has good combinations, decent IQ. Now, we obviously saw in the Topuria fight, the IQ was not there. I was super disappointed in the fact that he didn't go straight back to the grappling like he should have, or kept his distance like he should have, like his coaches were saying, like the game plan was put in place for him to do, but he didn't. And I think he's learned from that. And also, he came back quick against Matthias Gamrot and showed a level of grappling that Max Holloway simply has not seen before. You cannot show me an opponent that Max Holloway has faced who's maybe even close to Oliveira's grappling. Has Charles Oliveira's first of all, his wrestling has definitely gotten better. We already know his jiu-jitsu is the best there is in this game. And then his wrestling got even better. And we saw that in the Michael Chandler fight. Charles's wrestling got way better. And he's taking real shots. He seems stronger than ever. And in the Topuria fight, I think Topuria is probably just that good. Topuria has a very good sense of where his hips should go and a very good sense of, grappling, because Topuria was a wrestler first. I think he started with Greco-Roman wrestling first, but we're not talking about Topuria, blah, blah, blah. I just think the grappling from Oliveira is going to be too much for Max Holloway. Now, Let's talk about Max and how can he win this fight. We all know how he can win this fight. If he establishes that jab early, which Ilia Topuria did against Charles Oliveira, and that worked, and he knocked Charles out like that. But Max Holloway does not have that close, impactful power like Topuria does. I call Max Holloway Max Pillow Hands Holloway. He doesn't really have that knockout power, and I think that's because of how he hits. He hits long a lot of the times. At distance, he doesn't really ever get close and really rip shots. Really good striker though. He's like one of the best strikers we've ever seen. And I think how this fight's gonna go, I think we're gonna see obviously Charles with his high guard chuck a lot of teeps at first, but I don't think Charles is gonna be afraid of Max's striking, and I think there's just a physical like difference in and Topuria and Max Holloway, or Topuria and Charles, because we're going to use the Topuria fight a lot. We saw Max Holloway. He definitely had a way better performance against Topuria than Charles Oliveira did, but I believe that's just because of the stylistic matchup, right? Now let's compare, their matchups against Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, he finished Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway took him to the distance. I think that's kind of an irrelevant fight to talk about. Let's just go back to how I think they're going to do. First, their first fight has nothing to do with this. I think it's very different. Everyone knows that. I think I watched that once like a while ago. I really could not care less about their first fight. But yeah, I think Max Holloway, if he wants to win this, he's got to establish that jab early. And really, obviously, he's going to be working on his takedown defense. I just don't see a way, and I just don't see him getting like so much better. That we saw Max Holloway get taken down by Topuria 2 times. How easily Ilia got in on Max's hips, lifted him up and took him down. Charles can do the exact same thing. Charles Oliveira did that to Michael Chandler a bunch of times. He did it to a bunch of people a bunch of times. And most importantly, in his most recent fight against Matthias Gamrot, which I feel like people are just already forgetting about, Charles, amazing performance against Gamrot. I'm not even gonna look at the striking in that much, because I think it's gonna come down to the grappling. Because I think obviously if it stays on the feet, Max Holloway is gonna win. Charles does have things to offer back, and do not be surprised at all if Charles does rock Holloway at some point. I think Holloway's chin, I don't think is really there that much, and I think he's reaching a level of like he's starting to face really good competition now. And I know what you're gonna say. Holloway's been facing good competition. I think in the sense of like he's up to lightweight, and we've seen in his recent fights him get rocked. Poirier fight he got rocked. Ilia fight he got knocked out. Got beat up by Volk pretty bad. Don't be surprised if Oliveira, if he chucks a hook over Max's left arm when Max tries a jab. Max does, he's a very outside type guy. He does leave his left hand down a little bit, and when he's doing that jab, don't be surprised if we see Oliveira come in with his own hooks, like a right hook over that. I'm not going to be surprised at all, but I don't think it's going to come down to the striking here. I think it's going to come down to can Max defend against Charles's takedowns, and if he does get taken down, can he get back up? We saw Ilia take Max Holloway down, and then Max Holloway got back up. Ilia could not get his hooks in, he couldn't keep him down. But it's a different level of physicality and even grappling. I think Charles Oliveira, he's a better grappler than Ilia. And I think offensively he's going to be better because he's much bigger than Ilia. I think Ilia had a tough time really trying to get Max Holloway's back, keeping him down, just because of the physicality of it. But now we got Charles Oliveira, a bigger, more established grappler than Ilia Topuria. And I mean bigger because that really does matter. And the strength, the physicality. If Charles isn't an idiot, and if he goes in there and he fights like he should. And am I doing this? Am I the idiot? Are we just going to see Max Holloway go in there and piece Charles Oliveira up? Because he is probably the best striker at lightweight right now besides Ilia. that I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And Max Holloway goes out there. Charles doesn't really even shoot. Charles is gonna get pieced up, maybe TKO'd in like the third or fourth round. But I think Charles will get this done first or second round. I'm going with a very similar prediction to what I made for Charles and Ilya. I thought Charles was gonna submit Ilya in the first or second round just because of the physicality advantage, but turns out Ilya actually does have really good grappling himself and definitely better anti-grappling than Max Holloway. And I'm gonna say that just off of their little exchange they had. Charles Oliveira, his wrestling's gotten better. I think he gets in on Max's hips. He takes him down. Matthias Gamrot couldn't defend against it. So you're telling me Max Holloway can? I think Max will try a wizard just like Matthias Gamrot tried. He tries that wizard. Oliveira's simply too strong. Keeps that body lock. Gets him down. I think he takes Holloway's back. Maybe chokes him out. Armbars Holloway. I think we got an armbar win by a Charles Oliveira. Second round. I believe Charles Oliveira submission via armbar second round against Max Holloway. And I hope I'm not wrong because obviously I like being right. But we could see Max Holloway just piece Oliveira up, man. If he really does start establishing that jab, it's going to be harder and harder for Oliveira to get in on Max's hips. But I think Charles Oliveira is at a point in his career where that Ilya fight happened where he didn't follow game plan, and he's really going to look at it and be like, okay, I have to follow game plan and do what I need to do. I think he's going to submit Max Holloway. But this is not going to be a close fight. I really do think it's going to be very one-sided either way. I think it's going to be Max Holloway piecing up. I don't think Max Holloway would necessarily put away Charles. He could. But it's either going to be Max Holloway piecing up Charles for 5 rounds or TKOs him in the fourth, or Charles submitting Max Holloway in the first or second, or even third or even fourth, you know? I just think the physicality of Charles and how he's not afraid to just walk forward, and he's a good striker himself. He has stuff to offer back. I just think he gets in on Max's hips. He takes the back. He transitions to, I'm sure Max does good defense against a rear naked choke. Charles transitions to an armbar. He gets Max Holloway for second round submission. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment whatever you want. Just like the video, subscribe, share the video, clown me in the comments. Just let me know in the comments what you guys think about this fight. I think this is a sick fight. We knew this was going to happen. But yeah. Very excited for this. Like and subscribe. Peace out.